Picture this. You wake up one morning and look in the mirror. Nothing dramatic has changed overnight. You look the same, feel the same, live the same. But what if, quietly, invisibly, tiny choices were stacking up behind the scenes, nudging your life toward a completely different future? Maybe it's the habit of reaching for your phone before your toothbrush. Maybe it's the extra spoonful of sugar in your coffee. Maybe it's choosing the couch instead of a quick walk. Each one feels so small, so harmless. It's easy to dismiss. But here's the shocking truth. In the same way a plane drifting by just a few degrees ends up in a completely different city, your tiny daily habits are steering your entire life. Over weeks, months, and years, they compound into powerful forces, building you up or breaking you down. That's the secret James Clear reveals in Atomic Habits. Small changes don't just add up, they multiply. And once you understand how habits really work, you can design them like Lego blocks, stacking tiny wins until they transform everything. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And when you get your systems right, success becomes inevitable. Welcome to the Book Scoop, where we take the world's best books, scoop out the wisdom, and serve it up in a way you can use today. Today's scoop is Atomic Habits by James Clear, one of the most practical and powerful books ever written about behavior change. The core idea is simple but life-changing. Big outcomes come from small habits, consistently repeated. Every action you take is like a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. If you want to change your results, you don't need to wait for massive breakthroughs. You need to change your habits, because your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your future. So let's dive into the first big lesson, the surprising power of tiny changes and the 1% rule. Lesson 1. The surprising power of tiny changes. Let me tell you a story. In 2003, British cycling was an embarrassment on wheels. For nearly 100 years, British cyclists had been mediocre at best. They hadn't won a single Tour de France. Their Olympic record? Just one gold medal in almost a century. They were so bad that one bike company refused to sell them bikes, afraid it would hurt their reputation if anyone saw the Brits riding them. Then came Dave Brailsford, the new performance director. His strategy? Not giant changes, not magical secrets, just what he called the aggregation of marginal gains, tiny 1% improvements in every area of cycling. He tweaked bike seats, tested massage gels, even painted the inside of the team van white so they could spot dust that might affect performance. Individually, each change was so small it seemed pointless. But together, they transformed the team. Within 5 years, British cyclists dominated the Olympics, won the Tour de France, and went on one of the most successful runs in cycling history. That's the power of atomic habits. Tiny changes that, repeated over time, create massive results. Here's the math James Clear shares. If you improve by just 1% every day for a year, you'll end up 37 times better. But if you get 1% worse each day, you'll spiral almost to zero. Time multiplies whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. So what does this mean for you? It means your daily choices, the ones so small they almost feel invisible, are either pulling you closer to success or pushing you further from it. Your weight is just a lagging measure of your eating and exercise habits. Your bank account is a lagging measure of your spending habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Here's your action step. Choose one area of your life you want to improve. Don't set a giant goal. Instead, ask, what's the smallest, simplest 1% improvement I can make today? Maybe it's reading one page. Maybe it's swapping soda for water. Maybe it's writing one sentence instead of waiting for inspiration. Start small. Stay consistent. That's how compounding works. And here's the teaser for our next lesson. Once you understand the power of small habits, the next step is to realize this: your habits don't just change what you do, they change who you are. So, quick recap. Small habits may look invisible, but they're powerful. Improving by 1% each day compounds into massive results. The key isn't to chase goals, but to build systems. Time multiplies your habits, for better or worse. Lesson 2. Identity-based habits. You become what you do. Here's a question. Why is it so easy to slip back into old habits, even when we really want to change? James Clear says it's because most of us try to change at the wrong level. We focus on outcomes, like I want to lose weight or I want to write a book. Or maybe we focus on processes, like I'll follow this workout plan or I'll write 500 words every morning. But the deepest level of change is identity. Who you believe you are. Think of it like layers of an onion. The outer layer is outcomes. The middle is processes. And at the core is identity. Most people start from the outside, chasing results. But lasting change happens when you start from the inside out, when your habits are aligned with who you want to be. Here's a powerful example. Imagine two people offered a cigarette. The first says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The second says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Both are refusing the cigarette, but the difference is massive. The first person still identifies as a smoker who's trying to quit. The second person has changed their identity. They don't smoke anymore. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. When you do one push-up, you're casting a vote for, "I'm the kind of person who works out." When you write one paragraph, you're voting for, "I'm a writer." When you read one page, you're voting for, "I'm a reader." And the best part? You don't need a unanimous vote to change your identity. You just need enough small wins to tip the balance. Here's your action step. Instead of asking, "What do I want to achieve?" ask, "Who do I want to become?" Then look for the smallest habit that reinforces that identity. If you want to be fit, start by putting on your running shoes. If you want to be creative, carry a notebook and jot down one idea. If you want to be a reader, open a book for 2 minutes a day. And here's your teaser. Once you know who you want to become, the question is how to build habits that stick. And that's where the 4-step habit loop comes in. So quick recap. Habits aren't just about results. They're about identity. Every small action is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. True change starts with asking, "Who do I want to be?" Lesson 3. The 4 steps of habit formation. If habits are the building blocks of your identity, then how do they actually work? James Clear breaks it down into a simple loop of 4 steps. Cue, craving, response, and reward. Let's make it real. Imagine you walk into your kitchen and see a plate of cookies on the counter. That's the cue. It triggers your brain. Then comes the craving, the thought of how good that cookie will taste. Next is the response. You grab one and take a bite. Finally, the reward, a burst of sweetness, satisfaction, and maybe a little sugar rush. That's the loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Repeat it often enough, and your brain wires it in. The cue triggers the craving. The craving drives the response. The reward satisfies the craving and reinforces the habit. This isn't just about cookies. It's how all habits form, good or bad. Brushing your teeth, scrolling social media, checking your phone when you hear a ding, going for a run. Habits are mental shortcuts your brain builds to save energy. The good news is, once you understand this loop, you can design habits instead of letting them design you. That's what the rest of Atomic Habits is all about, the 4 laws of behavior change. Each law lines up with one part of the loop. To build a good habit, you make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying. To break a bad habit, you reverse the laws. Here's your action step. This week, pick one habit you want to change. Write down its cue, craving, response, and reward. For example, cue, I see my phone. Craving, I want to feel connected. Response, I scroll Instagram. Reward, I feel entertained. Just mapping it out gives you awareness. And awareness is the first step toward change. And here's the teaser. Next, we'll dive into the first law of behavior change, how to make good habits obvious and bad habits invisible. So quick recap, every habit follows the same four-step loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Once you see the loop, you can start redesigning it. Lesson 4. Make it obvious. Have you ever walked into your kitchen, spotted a cookie jar on the counter, and instantly grabbed one without even thinking? That's the power of cues. Your environment shapes your habits more than your willpower does. James Clear's first law of behavior change is simple. Make it obvious. If you want to build better habits, don't rely on motivation. Design your environment so the right choice is the easy choice. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow in the morning so it's waiting for you at night. If you want to exercise, set out your workout clothes where you'll see them. If you want to eat healthier, keep fruit on the counter and hide the junk food. There's also a simple trick called habit stacking. You take an existing habit and attach a new one to it. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth. Or, after I make my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. By piggybacking on habits you already do, you create obvious cues for new ones. And here's the genius part. You can also use this in reverse. If you want to break a bad habit, make the cue invisible. Put the cookies in the pantry instead of on the counter. Turn off notifications on your phone. Hide the remote so you're less tempted to binge watch. Action step. Pick one habit you want to build and one you want to break. For the good habit, design an obvious cue in your environment. For the bad one, remove or hide the cue that triggers it. And here's the teaser. Once you see the cues, the next step is to make the habit not just obvious, but irresistible. So quick recap, habits start with cues. Make good habits obvious by redesigning your environment. Make bad habits invisible by removing their triggers. Lesson 5. Make it attractive. Why do we check our phones dozens of times a day? Why does social media suck us in? Because it's not just obvious, it's attractive. The brain releases dopamine in anticipation of a reward, and the more attractive the habit, the stronger the craving. That's why James Clear's second law is, make it attractive. One powerful technique is called temptation bundling. You pair something you want to do with something you need to do. For example, only watch Netflix while you're on the treadmill. Only listen to your favorite podcast while doing house chores. Only enjoy your favorite latte after finishing your morning writing. Suddenly, the habit you want to build feels like a treat, not a chore. Another trick is joining a community where your desired behavior is the norm. If you hang out with people who run marathons, running becomes attractive. If your friends love cooking healthy meals, eating well feels natural. Humans are wired to fit in, so surround yourself with the habits you want to adopt. And just like before, you can flip this rule to break bad habits. Make them unattractive. Reframe how you see them. Instead of thinking, smoking helps me relax, think, smoking is stealing my breath and energy. Instead of scrolling is entertaining, think, scrolling is draining my focus. Change the story, and the craving weakens. Action step. Choose one habit you want to build. Ask yourself, how can I make it more attractive? Could you bundle it with something fun? Could you join a group that already does it? And here's the teaser. We've made habits obvious and attractive. Next, we'll make them easy. So simple you can't say no. So quick recap, cravings drive habits. To build good habits, make them attractive with temptation bundling or community. To break bad ones, reframe them as unattractive. Lesson 6. Make it easy. Here's a secret about human nature. We almost always take the path of least resistance. If something is easy, we do it. If it's hard, we avoid it. That's why James Clear's third law of behavior change is, make it easy. Most people think success comes from massive effort. But the truth is, habits stick when they're simple and friction-free. If you want to play the guitar, don't lock it in the closet, leave it on a stand in the living room. If you want to exercise, choose a workout you can do at home without fancy equipment. If you want to eat better, chop up fruit and keep it ready to grab. James Clear shares the 2-minute rule. Any habit can be started in under 2 minutes. Want to read more? Start with open a book. Want to run more? Start with put on my shoes. Want to meditate? Start with sit on the cushion for 2 minutes. The point isn't to do the full habit at first. The point is to make starting so easy you can't say no. And here's the magic. Once you start, momentum carries you forward. Sitting on the cushion often leads to a longer meditation. Opening the book often leads to a few chapters. The hardest part of any habit is just beginning. To break bad habits, do the opposite. Increase friction. Make them harder. Delete the app. Unplug the TV. Put the snacks on the top shelf. The more steps between you and the bad habit, the less likely you are to do it. Action step: pick one good habit you want to build. Shrink it down to a 2-minute version. Then pick one bad habit and add friction to make it harder. And here's the teaser. Once a habit is easy to do, the final step is to make it rewarding, so your brain wants to repeat it again and again. So quick recap: good habits stick when they're simple and friction-free. Use the 2-minute rule to make them easy to start. To break bad habits, add friction and make them harder. Lesson 7. Make it satisfying. Here's a problem with good habits. The results are usually delayed. Eating a salad today doesn't make you instantly healthier. Saving money today doesn't make you rich overnight. Writing a page doesn't make you a writer tomorrow. Meanwhile, bad habits often feel great immediately. The cookie tastes good, the scroll is fun, the impulse buy feels exciting, even though the pain comes later. That's why James Clear's 4th law of behavior change is: make it satisfying. The more immediately rewarding a habit feels, the more likely it is to stick. One way to do this is through tracking. Every time you complete a habit, mark it down. Whether it's crossing off a calendar, filling a habit tracker, or stacking paper clips in a jar. That visual proof gives your brain a hit of satisfaction. Another trick is instant rewards. For example, transfer $5 into a fun fund every time you work out. Or let yourself enjoy a treat after you finish your daily writing session. Rewards don't need to be big, they just need to feel good in the moment. And to break bad habits, make them unsatisfying. Find an accountability partner. Tell a friend your goal. And if you break your habit, pay them money or do something silly. The pain of social embarrassment or losing money makes the habit less appealing. Action step: pick one habit you're building. Create a simple tracking system so you can see your progress and feel rewarded each time you stick with it. And here's the teaser. We've covered the 4 laws of behavior change. Next, we'll explore advanced strategies, like how to stay motivated and why the Goldilocks Rule is the secret to long-term success. So quick recap: good habits need to feel satisfying in the moment. Track them. Reward yourself. To break bad habits, make them unsatisfying through accountability or negative consequences. Lesson 8. The Goldilocks Rule: how to stay motivated. Here's a secret about motivation. We get bored when things are too easy, and we get discouraged when things are too hard. The sweet spot? That's what James Clear calls the Goldilocks Rule. Just like Goldilocks didn't want her porridge too hot or too cold, habits stick best when they're just right, challenging enough to be interesting, but not so hard that they overwhelm you. Think of learning a new language. If you only study words you already know, you'll get bored. If you jump straight into Shakespeare in another language, you'll give up. But if you study just a little above your level, enough to stretch you without breaking you, you stay motivated. The same goes for fitness, writing, or any skill. Progress happens in the sweet spot. Action step: look at a habit you're trying to build. Is it too easy? Add a small challenge. Is it too hard? Scale it back until it feels achievable but still interesting. Lesson 9. Accountability and commitment devices. Want habits to stick? Add accountability. Find a partner. Sign a contract. Make your habits public. Story: Brian Harris wrote a habit contract with his wife and trainer. If he didn't stick to his goals, there were penalties. And it worked. There's also the idea of commitment devices. Victor Hugo, the writer, once locked away all his clothes so he couldn't leave the house, forcing himself to finish a novel on time. Extreme? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. And in today's world, we can automate good habits. Set up auto savings. Use website blockers. Prepay for workouts. Remove the need for willpower entirely. Lesson 10. The Cardinal Rule and Lasting Change. Clear calls this the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So make your habits satisfying right now. Reward yourself. Use trackers. Build accountability. And never forget, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Success isn't about radical change. It's about building better systems, one tiny habit at a time. Lesson 11. Environment beats willpower. Here's something powerful. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And one of the biggest systems shaping your habits is your environment. We like to think we're driven by motivation, but really, we're driven by what's around us. If there's a plate of cookies on the counter, you'll probably eat them. If your phone is buzzing, you'll check it. But if the cookies aren't there, if the phone is in another room, the temptation disappears. James Clear reminds us, you don't need more discipline. You need a better environment. Design spaces that make good habits obvious and easy, and bad habits invisible and hard. Action step: walk through your home or workspace. Ask yourself, does this environment make my good habits easy and my bad habits hard? Adjust one thing today. Let's quickly recap everything we've scooped from Atomic Habits. 1. Small habits compound like interest. Tiny changes, consistently repeated, create massive results. 2. True change is identity-based. Every habit is a vote for the person you want to become. 3. Habits run on a loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Once you see it, you can redesign it. 4. Make it obvious. Design your environment so good habits stand out and bad ones disappear. 5. Make it attractive. Bundle good habits with fun rewards and surround yourself with the right people. 6. Make it easy. Use the 2-minute rule. Remove friction and shrink habits until starting feels effortless. 7. Make it satisfying. Track your progress and reward yourself so habits feel rewarding in the moment. 8. Use the Goldilocks Rule to stay motivated. Habits should be challenging but achievable. 9. Remember, environment beats willpower. Build systems that pull you forward instead of relying on discipline. That's Atomic Habits in a nutshell. Small changes, big results. So here's my challenge for you today. Pick one identity you want to build. Maybe it's I'm a healthy person, I'm a writer, or I'm someone who manages money well. Then, choose the smallest habit you can start today that casts a vote for that identity. Just one small, atomic habit. Do it today and repeat it tomorrow. Watch what happens as the days compound. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up. Tiny actions, consistently repeated, will change who you are and who you become. Thank you for tuning in to the Book Scoop. If this breakdown of Atomic Habits sparked something for you, drop your favorite takeaway in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because great minds don't just read, they reflect. But remember, this was just the scoop. To dive deeper and unlock the full impact, I highly recommend picking up a copy of Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's packed with stories, research, and strategies that go beyond what we covered today. Until next time, remember, success isn't about giant leaps. It's about small, consistent steps in the right direction. Until next time, stay curious, keep turning pages, and keep building those tiny habits that shape your future.